From the city of brotherly love, this is Shark Bite Biz with David Strausser.
You just arrived to the newest episode of Shark Bite Biz. I'm your rock star wannabe host, David Strausser, and this is your place to learn how to grow a business during complete global chaos. Today, it's all about health. First, though, remember, please download the Shark Bite Biz app on the Google Play Store. You can find every single episode of the show, both audio and video, right there in the app. All you gotta do is search Shark Bite Biz, and once you download it, hit that little menu button, look for the coffee store icon, hit that, and you can get our fabulous coffee. Yes, the freshest coffee known on earth. Coffee that is roasted, sealed, and shipped within a 24-hour period right to your doorstep. That's Dead House Coffee right there in the app, or head on over to deadhousecoffee.com. Use code SHARK. You'll get 20% off of your order, and we'll get all the proceeds to continue growing the biggest and best show we possibly can. Real quick, before we get into today's episode, I gotta give a personal shout out. Everybody knows my day job. We do Vision 33 with ERP, and one of the things that we work with is advanced manufacturing. And this one company we're working with right now, Fonseca, Fonseca Advisors. Okay, look them up. Milton is incredible. He knows Bayaz. He knows the advanced manufacturing stuff. Definitely give him a shout out. Tell him that David at Shark Bite Biz sent you. Now let's get back to today's show. We have a chaotic health system in our country, and I'm sorry to say, you may be a fan of it, you may hate it, but Obamacare, I don't know. It's got some good stuff. It's got some negative stuff. Everybody has something to complain. And let's face it, you're never going to make everybody happy. No matter what system you adopt in this country, somebody or some group is going to hate it. That's just a fact, okay? But our system here in the US is really chaotic. I mean, for example, I have insurance, especially when it comes to things like physical therapy. I mean, I had 2 major surgeries Q4 of last year. You all know that. I'm still recovering. That's why we're doing the show 1 time a week now instead of 2, as I recover from the surgeries that I've had. And even with 2 major surgeries on my back that basically had me immobile for 6-7 months, barely moving, barely walking, I still only got 30 sessions of physical therapy included with my insurance. Like, it's insane, and it's hard to get more. And if they do give you more, it's like 2 or 3 more. I mean, it is so crazy how things are disjointed. And that's what I love about today's guest. I mean, he is coming on to our show, and he's going to explain to us about how he grew a physical therapy practice without accepting insurance, and not only making that possible, but making it profitable as well. So who do we have today? None other than Mr. Aaron LeBauer. Dr. Aaron LeBauer is the host of Cash PT Lunch Hour podcast, author of the Cash PT Blueprint, international speaker, and has helped thousands of passionate physical therapists scale their time, income, and impact without relying on insurance. So, hey, without further ado, let's bring Dr. Aaron right on in here.
Small Biz Spotlight.
Aaron, welcome to Shark Bite Biz. You, my friend, you just became Shark Bait.
Hey, David, thanks for having me on your show. Appreciate it so much.
No problem. I appreciate that you actually thanked me for having on the show. So thank you. Well, we got a tradition here. Very first question we ask every single person that comes on: where have you been? What have you done? What do you do for a living? What's your business? Basically, in a nutshell, tell us what makes Aaron Aaron.
Yeah. Oh, that's a I usually answer that question about 45 minutes. So the 30-second answer is I'm a doctor of physical therapy who helps other physical therapists make more money, help more people, spend more time with their family, and do it without relying on insurance.
Okay. So you said something right there at the end. That was really a good elevator pitch, I'll tell you that. Without relying on insurance companies. Can you explain that to us?
Yeah. It's kind of like that bad relationship you had in high school or college where, it's like a triangular relationship. Yeah. One person says one thing, you think something else, and someone else. So really the problem with insurance is that it's like going to McDonald's and buying a hamburger but leaving without paying. And McDonald's has to wait 60 days to get paid by, the bank, for your hamburger. Like they can't pay their employees if they don't have the money. So with health insurance, it's still a little bit more complicated than that. But as a healthcare provider, if I'm sitting in front of my patient, I want to be able to make a decision based on what the patient's telling me and my best judgment, not based on whether I'm going to get paid for seeing that person or not, or whether their referring provider or physician agrees with me or not. I want to make a decision based on what that person needs. And a lot of people, a lot of physicians, physical therapists, healthcare providers, are making decisions based on whether they're going to get paid for doing this or not, because we don't get paid to talk to you. We don't get paid for figuring out what's wrong. We get paid for doing a procedure, or an x-ray, an injection. I don't get paid for injections, but healthcare gets paid for doing things to you, not for figuring out what's wrong and whether we need to do something or not.
That's interesting that you said it and that you said it like that, because as my viewers know, we used to do the show 2 episodes a week. I had to get back surgery, got injured, and the first back surgery actually failed. And I wasn't with any, run-of-the-mill doctor. I was with one of the best doctors here in Philadelphia. Every doctor I talked to was like, yes, I want that guy to do my back surgery if I ever need it. And he just failed. He's like 2% of the people, it gets re-herniated within the first X amount of weeks. And mine was pretty much instantly. As soon as they flipped me from my back over to, from my stomach back over to my back, bam, another piece of the bone just slid right into that spot and re-herniated, re-pinched everything. And they basically had to redo the surgery 6 weeks later. And the insurance company, they approved it, medically necessary, all that stuff. But out of curiosity, I was looking to see how much did he actually get paid. I don't know, maybe it's a conspiracy theorist in me, because I'm like, did he set me up for failure just to get a second payday surgery? And I'm looking, and all the facilities got paid, the anesthesiologist got paid, and it was a different location, but the doctor actually did not get paid for the second surgery. He charged $8,000 to the insurance company, and it was a planned discount of $8,000 with a $0 payout for the doctor and $0 owed by the patient. So he essentially had to redo the surgery for free. That is insane.
Yeah, it's, yes, it is. And there's a lot going on. There's a lot in there. And I think there's a couple things that I'd love to share. Is that one, back pain and pain itself is complicated, and it's more complex than just a herniated disc or a compression or arthritis or a torn say labrum or rotator cuff. It's much more complicated than what we see on the x-rays and MRIs. There's a lot of things that go along with it. There's a lot of human, not human error, but human, what are our experiences around pain? So that's complicated. Right. Then that gets
pain thresholds, you mean, right?
Pain thresholds, pain expectations. So what have we heard or learned in our life about pain that other people in our family or our friends have experienced? What are their experiences around surgeries? They influence our experience, and our experience influences how much something hurts.
Right. All right. Wow. That's a lot to unpack right there alone. In my case, it was so I've had this for a while, but kid's birthday party, and I went out and I put it all on the line to play volleyball with a bunch of 4 and 5 year olds, and literally broke my back at my kid's birthday party. That's how much I love them, Aaron. And the next morning I woke up and I couldn't walk. And they're like, it's same injury. It was more severe. It went from like bulging, I guess, to severely herniated. And they gave me injections, stuff like that. And they were like, hey, you can't. 38, I'm walking with a cane, and with that I could barely even move, get up, sit down, put socks on. And they're like, surgery is your only option. And even with pain meds, I was way past the level of pain I was comfortable with living with. And it was a hard decision because, like you said, those influences, those outside influences of people's experiences with pain or with surgery. I've always heard that, hey, doing a back surgery is going to be like opening a can of worms, and it's going to be one after the other. And here I go. Like, I go for the first surgery. 6 weeks later, I'm already getting the second back surgery. So kind of stank in that aspect. But the second one was much more successful. I'm 6 weeks out, and I am a million times better than I was 6 weeks out after the first surgery.
Yeah, well, that's great. And the good news is our bodies are great at healing. Herniated discs heal. Degenerated discs are like both on the inside. So it sounds like you're on the mend and making progress. So
yeah, definitely. So how did you end up growing a business around physical therapy that doesn't take insurance? I mean, for me to go to physical therapy, it's $35 a visit. And obviously they're going to dictate how many visits I can probably go for. I'm sure it's not unlimited, but I would imagine you're probably charging people a little bit more than $35 per visit.
Oh, yeah. We're charging a lot more than $35 per visit. But just because you're paying 35, or you or one of your listeners, anyone, me, myself, we're paying $35 as a copay, that doesn't mean it's only $35. We're paying, not only are we paying per month, our deductible, our premium, but we're paying for the copay, and then whatever that business, whether it's the hospital, the healthcare provider, physical therapist, surgeon, whatever they bill for the hour, you pay your copay, and then they send the bill to the insurance company. The insurance company decides whether this is usual and customary, and then whatever is usual and customary is allowed. And then the difference, we still owe the difference, especially if we haven't met our deductible. So we end up paying more later on down the road. No one knows how much. So we go into the relationship transparently. It's like, hey, to be able to help you get back to, working out, playing with your kids, playing volleyball, and not being afraid of getting on the ground and hurting your back, it's going to be X amount. And whatever that X amount is, it's our best guess on how many visits and how long it's going to take. But it's from the beginning, it's transparent, and patients can then submit a bill to insurance. So it's still can be covered, and it still helps you meet your deductible. But there's no unknowns. Like it's all like, here's what it's going to take. And so
transparency, though, you just said right there, that's a big word, the T word, transparency. It sounds like that's something that is critical for what you're doing, because if I saw a company, and I'm playing devil's advocate here, okay, if I saw a company, it's like, oh, well, they don't accept insurance, there must be a reason why they don't accept insurance. And you can't always judge a book by its cover. And I think that's where the transparency that you're talking about really plays key into success of winning over patients. Is that accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. And when we're having conversations with the patients, we're not leading with, here's how much it's going to cost. We're transparent, and the other people aren't. We're leading with questions about like, what's wrong? How long has it been a problem? What's it keeping you from doing? We have to have an actual sales conversation. We're not selling a commodity. So I ask a question like, just imagine you could snap your fingers and like what's one, I'm trying to remember the way we word it for the clinic, but it's like, imagine you can snap your fingers and your body would function exactly the way you would want it. What's one activity you'd rather be doing, and how would that change your life? Working together in the next 12 months. Yeah. Playing guitar. So if I could help you get back to playing guitar as long as you want without worrying about hurting your back, that's the conversation we're going to have. I'm not going to have a conversation about what's wrong, like your back or your range of motion or your knee pain or the surgery. I'm going to have a conversation about what do you need to do, because as physical therapists, like I'm not a surgeon. I don't go and remove tissue, take tissue away, fix tissue. I help you get back to activity despite whatever's happening in your body, because our bodies are really strong and powerful and can recover. We just have to give it the right movement, mobility, input, and confidence sometimes to get you moving. And movement's medicine.
Right. So you have a couple things going on, and I just want to be clear of all the different, ventures you can say that you have going. We focused, I went right for the stake to the heart at the beginning with the physical therapy, because personal experience, it's something I'm about to go to right now. And I've got to say, I've had the back injury probably 8 to 10 years now, and I've gone to physical therapy plenty of times. And I always hate when I get that physical therapy that just pats you on the back and he's like, I'm going to fix you, guy. And then they push you to some kind of extreme limit instead of building you up slowly. Like right off the bat, they're making you do these extreme things. And it's like a week later, I'm in a major flare up. I can't walk and I'm essentially bedridden. And that's when I usually have stopped going, because I've lost trust in aspect of physical therapy to a degree.
Right. Well, that's because not all physical therapy is the same. Well, not all physical therapy is the same. Right. So physical therapy didn't work for me, or I failed physical therapies, like saying, I don't like, restaurant, so I'm not going to go eat at restaurant. It's like, and so really it's the thing that I really like about our business model, not worrying about insurance, is I'm not constrained for time. So I'm not constrained for time. So I can spend as much time as I need to really help people understand, or help me understand what's wrong, and help people understand that I know exactly what's wrong. And we're going to go at the pace that's comfortable for both of us and that we think fits. And so, I've heard this many times from people. It's like, I've done physical therapy multiple times and it didn't help. And it's part of it's like, it's not just the physical therapy, because it's not a modality. It's not a technique. There's so many things that people can do and so many different types. It's like, it's just about finding the right physical therapist that works for you. And sometimes, yeah, absolutely, we have to have a surgical intervention, but it's not a procedure. There's so many things that go into everyone's perceptions, like I said, the patients, but also the physical therapists and our training. Like my training's different. All my coaching clients have wildly different training than I do, and we all get good results. And it's just a matter of matching ourselves, our personalities, our treatment techniques to the person in front of us.
That is amazing. So as I was saying before, you do have a couple different ventures out there, or different avenues. I mean, from sales coaching, podcasts, physical therapy. Kind of give us a brief explanation of each one of those ventures that you do have.
Well, it was about 8 years ago. I was just helping other physical therapists, grow their practice, and we call it, in physical therapy, we'll call it a cash-based practice, even though we do, accept credit cards and Bitcoin and whatever else you want to guess. But
Bitcoin. What about Dogecoin? Dogecoin. You gotta do Dogecoin.
I'm not into Dogecoin. I'm sure it's gonna be pretty good. But anyways, I started helping people, and they asked, well, how much do I owe you? And I was like, okay, well, here. And then I started a coaching and consulting business from people just asking me and asking to help for help. And so I've grown a coaching business. I have a podcast for my coaching business as well as my clinic. We have it's called, I've written a book called the Cash PT Blueprint on how to build a out of network physical therapy practice. I have a software that we've created to help physical therapy business owners utilize email marketing to grow their list and help more patients, which is one of the number one things that we've done in our business. And then what else? I've got an event. I've got a lot of irons in the fire.
Yeah, you do. That's definitely a full plate there. Where is your actual physical therapy practice located, in case there's some crazy listener out there that actually wants to go to you?
Yeah, it's called LeBauer Physical Therapy, and we're in Greensboro, North Carolina. And we see people in person. We also do video visits and online consults. So for other people in North Carolina who need our help, like you don't actually have to be in Greensboro.
Yeah, definitely. So you do help coach other physical therapists as far as how to grow their practice. Okay. And because of this darn thing called COVID, everything has had to digitally transform, and we're doing everything online. So I imagine you're probably doing sales webinars with them. What's your process of running those webinars?
That's great. Yeah, I've been doing sales webinars for 7 years. And I think if we break it down, if someone hasn't done a webinar at all, whether we do it, so like a lot of the stuff we do is high level ninja marketing stuff, because I have high friction in my clinic. And so I'm just adapted this to the coaching business. To run a webinar, you need to know a few things. You need to know who your audience is and what they want. And then you really have to have a proven product. You have to know, like, my product's going to sell. I've sold this thing to 6 people for $200. Okay. If I can sell it to 6 or 200, I can get 12. So if I've made a couple $1,000s through or more through phone calls, direct messages, emails, I can now go put together a webinar. Because I'm not going to go put together a webinar because it's a lot of work for something I don't know that anyone actually wants. So my big philosophy around building online courses and webinars is make sure that before you build an online course, you can sell it. Sell it before you create it. So if I have that, okay, now I know what the product is that I want to sell. It's a proven offer. Now I can build the stack. And a stack is a list of all the things they're going to get. So they're going to get the course and how much the value is. They're going to get bonus number 1, bonus number 2, bonus number 3, and what their value is and the total value of all of them together. So
the value right there. Sorry to interrupt, but before you go further, the value you're talking the pricing of what you're charging for those coaching classes, those sales webinars. How do you determine that actual figure, especially if it's something brand new? I mean, do you just play with numbers and kind of see where it fits? You look at the competition. What's your magic?
It's somewhat arbitrary, but it's somewhat like, if I can build a course, an online course that can help you build a 6-figure practice, wouldn't you say that online course is worth at least, $10,000 or $20,000? Right? Okay. So let's say I've got a 9 module course, and it can help you build a 6-figure physical therapy business that doesn't rely on insurance. Now, if you're going to make 6 figures a year with this course, like, wouldn't you pay, I would say like even $25,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. I mean, because you're going to double it. Right. So,
you've got to think, I think this is where people think short-minded. They're like, okay, let's just use your low number that you said of 10,000. Okay. $10,000 for this course to help me build the business up to 6 figures. And we'll go conservative, we'll go low. Let's just say it's 100,000 on the dot, what they earned. Okay. Well, you made $90,000 more, but then that's year over year income that you're making. Hopefully you're having even just minimal 10% growth. And, that $10,000 initial investment or $20,000 or $25,000 as you go on and you continue to build up, scale out, get bigger. I mean, that investment that, is getting smaller and smaller year over year as you get that ROI. I think too many people think about it the reverse way. And I say that because I'm not selling sales coaching. I probably should with this podcast and so many awesome guests on it, but I am not selling anything like that. But I do sell technology in the form of ERP. Do you know what ERP is? Okay. For people that don't know, basically enterprise resource planning, it's business management software from A to Z. There's like financial solution, or you have things from manufacturers, distributors. And a lot of times they'll be like, hey, this is 250 grand, or maybe you're a small business and it's only 20 grand, but you only do a million or 1.5 million a year in revenue, and 25 grand is still a big expense to you. But then, they look at it short term as far as that cost, instead of all the business process automations that they end up getting and all the functionality that it unlocks to allow you to expand, to turn that $1.5 million business to a $3 million business within 2, 3, 4 years, because you have the tools and the productivity to do it. And that's where I see with what you're doing compared to what I'm doing, even though completely different industries, we face the same exact challenges.
Yeah, it is people's perception of value. And so a lot of times when we're selling something on a webinar, which is different than maybe a sales conversation, but I still have to present, here's the value of this thing. For $10,000, like a lot of people I'm talking to have paid anywhere from $80,000 to $250,000 for their, graduate education to become a doctor of physical therapy. And this $10,000, value is just really like maybe not even a semester. And this can help you earn this, like 6-figure business. Okay. So then on the webinar, I say, okay, if my position the value at $10,000, I'm not going to sell it to you for $10,000.
I need you to clarify. Sorry, I need you to clarify one thing. Your courses, are you teaching people how to be a physical therapist itself, or are you teaching people how to grow that are already physical therapists?
Yeah, I'm teaching people who are already physical therapists, occupational therapists. Okay. They already have a degree and license to touch people. I'm teaching them how to build a business.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And so then because you're, so I'm going to position the value at, let's say $10,000, but because you're on the webinar today, this is going to be just $997. So I'm going to position the value such that the sales price is at least 1/10 of the value. But I've got my main course, I've got a couple bonuses, and so the value will be around $15,000 to $20,000. And the course that I sell online is $1,500.
So I've got to ask you then, marketing. I mean, your webinars, all that stuff only actually work if you get people to show up. I mean, I think anybody that does an event, I mean, even me with the podcast, okay, it was always like, is anybody actually going to watch? And I'll be honest, I actually had to spend some money, get some ads out there, create some buzz. I mean, with my own personal network, yeah, I probably could end up getting 200-300 views, but that would probably be it, just out of friends. But, the ads is what really opened up the floodgates for me. And I remember when I did my first live event, and it's something that my company, Vision 33, really didn't do. They participated in events, but they've never really put on their own event. And I'm like, no, networking sucks. Okay. Going out there and me going to these different events is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. And I just don't feel like driving all over LA with rush hour traffic to do that. So I'm going to turn that around and bring all those needles to me. And we're putting on an event. And I remember it was like maybe 45 minutes before the event started. And my boss at the time, Jeff, he was like, Strausser, don't worry. If one person shows up to the event, I'm going to tell the exec team it was the best, the most qualified person ever that showed up, and they're going to buy software. I got your back. But even he was questioning, will people show up for it? But ultimately, it came down to the marketing strategy that we had that made sure that a Friday afternoon in downtown LA, in a beautiful, beautiful place called the City Club of Los Angeles, that we had a jam-packed room of 100 plus executives spending their happy hour, and having William Hung from American Idol sing "She Bangs" and tell his business story was definitely the cream of the crop, because people don't think of him as a traditional business speaker. And we were playing off of hey, we're the anti-luncheon, we're the anti-luncheon. This is we're gonna serve you chocolate cake as the appetizer, that type of stuff. But marketing was the key. So I've got to ask you, with what you're doing in a COVID world, in a digital transformed world, what is a number one marketing strategy that you use for success to make sure people show up to your webinars?
Show up to the webinars, it's email marketing. So you register for the webinar, you get a thank you from me, and then I send you some emails to make sure that you show up. But it does start before that.
Are the thank yous?
Yeah.
Are the thank yous automated?
Yeah,
or like as part of a sequence that people use in HubSpot or whatever, those things?
Yep.
That makes your life easier.
Yeah, it does. I use Webinar Jam to run my webinars, and Webinar Jam has built-in thank you messages. And I used to even do them through my ActiveCampaign account and send the thank you and show up now. But that's just so complicated. It didn't get any better delivery or results than just what was already built into their system. So I use what's in their system to get people to show up. The last webinar I did, we had 58% of people show up. So we had 170 people register. 98 showed up. So we had over 50%, 58% show up rate. We closed a 12% close rate. And this wasn't even a product. This was for a call to a $20,000 per year program.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really great. And I just want to point out for listeners out there that do listen to all of, or at least most of, the marketing based podcast episodes we do, you said some key words in there that I want to reiterate, which is email marketing. Everybody, and this is surprising to me. Okay. Yes, I do biz dev, marketing, personal branding, podcast, that's part of what I do. But I keep hearing from experts and people like you that, oh no, social media, minimal. Where we get our big bang for our buck is through our email marketing. And I believe it. I do not doubt you. You're probably the 15th person out of the last 40 episodes that has said the same exact thing. But I just find it hard to believe. And I think a lot of listeners find it hard to believe that, whether it's TikTok, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, you have all these alternative social medias out there like Getter or Rumble or BitChute, that email marketing, the old tested, tried and true marketing way, is still the most successful in 2022.
Because I own the list. Facebook, I don't own my followers on Facebook, and I don't own my followers on Instagram. And so if I can create something, a compelling offer that's free, I can get people on an email list and I can communicate with them on a regular basis. And I'm not always selling. I'm usually, most of the time, giving something of value.
Okay. So we've been talking roughly maybe about a half hour or so. I got a couple quick follow-up questions I want to talk to you. Two business related, and then one on a more personal level for you. One is, we're talking about the virtual live sales event stuff, okay? What about the multi-day ones? Okay. Is it just you? How do you do your speaker lineup? How do you organize that multi-day virtual live sales event and do it in a way that's engaging so that people aren't checking their email or chatting or posting on Facebook? Oh my God, I'm stuck on this sales event all day. How do you organize that? What's the secret sauce?
Yeah, I think the couple secrets are, so we've got an event. It's called PT BizCon. It's a 2-day live event. We've done it 2 years in a row. Year one, it was supposed to be in person. We had about 8 days to move it virtual. And we've made hundreds of thousands of dollars each time. I don't even know. I didn't track the figure, but the secret is two things. One, short time for people to say speakers should be short, 30 minutes, 45-minute max. But in between the speakers, it's what's happening. So we're giving away thousands of dollars in prizes, Amazon gift cards, etc. We are putting people into breakout rooms on Zoom. So small group breakout room here, discuss this, and they get to create community and meet with other people.
So now with that, do you put someone from your organization in the breakout rooms, or do you just throw the guest in there randomly?
I throw the guests in there randomly with a prompt. It's like, say we're meeting here this time next year. What are we celebrating? Okay. And you've got, I'm going to put you into groups of 5 or 6. I can randomize it, or I can do it. I can do it on a spreadsheet, upload a spreadsheet if I really want to. I can randomize it and say, okay, you've got 5 minutes. Everyone's got 60 seconds to say, what are you celebrating? Introduce yourself and what are you celebrating? We'll come back in 5 minutes.
That's awesome, because we just had a guest, Robbie Samuels, and he does, I forget the name of his networking event that he does on Fridays, but we were talking about breakout rooms and he was telling us how to set those up for success. And, crazily enough, it's the same thing that you said. I mean, it set them up with prompts, whether it's 1, 2, 3 questions. All depends on how many people, and they're like, try 5 to 7. You get closer to 10, especially if you're only giving them 10 minutes. It's going to be rough because you always have that one person that just goes on and on and on and chews up all the time. But give them their prompts. Don't just send them in there like, hey, here you go, network. Give them prompts to talk about and try to do things that they can do with an elevator pitch.
We can put them in there and say, hey, help each other, share your one problem. I can prepare them, say, hey, here's what you're going to do. What's your one problem you want solved? Get in a group and help each other. I do that more in my coaching group than in like the event. In the event, I also do things where if you have to wear the event shirt on the Zoom to be eligible for prizes. Some of the things you have to do are you have to go into our Facebook group. And so if you want to win the AirPods, you have to go into our Facebook group and share a video of what are your takeaways from the event and what are your results, or why should someone else want to come to the event next year? And so I can do built-in testimonials as part of the prizes. I can also have them go and, if I have sponsors, I put a sponsor post and they have to go comment and like each sponsor post to be eligible for a prize. And so that way we get people engaged and involved, even though we can't all be in a room together. And it keeps it interesting. Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. And then there's not everyone gets to pitch. So the way I've put this event together is it's a no pitch event other than the offer that I make on the second day for my mastermind program.
That's good. That's awesome. So, as we're talking with this, I think this kind of ties in closely together. Your online course creation, which is different than a virtual live event, but your online course creation, how do you go about creating that? I know a lot of people during COVID, they're like, hey, salary just got sliced. Maybe they didn't get laid off. I know a lot of working professionals, think about people that usually make 6 figures and, everything's starting to close down, work from home. And it's basically like, hey, we're reducing salary by 30% in order to not lay people off because there's going to be some turbulence. They took hits. And I know a lot of people that turn to things like, hey, I want to do virtual courses, okay? Sales courses and how to sell, stuff like that. How does one actually go about creating that type of stuff?
Yeah. I think, like I alluded to before, what we want to do is we want to sell it first. So, how do we sell it first? We have to go find out what our audience wants. So, we'll go and survey people. Hey, what's your number one question about back pain? Or, hey, if I put together a video that showed you this result, would you like to see it? And then I know, okay, I got a bunch of people want to see it. Or something like, hey, I'm thinking about putting together a 12-week program to help, you know, uh, weekend warriors continue to, run without knee pain, something like that, and see who responds. And by kind of guessing, see, I know what people need, but I need to figure out what they want. So we want to sell them what they want and give them what they need. So I need to figure out what they want. And when I know what they want, I can put together the course, and I can then go say, okay, here's what the course is. Here's what it's going to do for you. Here's what you get. Here's where you go to get it. And then I can even just create a PayPal link and figure out who wants this course, have a conversation with them through Facebook Messenger or even on the phone, and say, hey, what are your problems? What do you want to achieve instead? You know what? I can help you with that. We've got this course coming up. It's called, the Cash PT Blueprint. It's going to do these things for you. Would you like to join us? And they say, yes. Okay, great. It's going to be, $1,500. And then they say, awesome. And if I can do that, one-on-one through Messenger or conversations, I know now I've got a course that I can build and that should sell on a webinar.
Okay. Now, the one interesting thing that I heard, and this has been one of the themes of our whole conversation, is it really comes down to having that email marketing list. So if you're considering anything, whether it's running a sales webinar, having a multi-day virtual live event, or even online course creation, if you don't have an email marketing list, you're not going to get very far. I mean, I think we just went full circle with that.
Yeah. I mean, people say, I don't want to email people and spam people. And it's like, okay, well, your experience is you get a lot of spammy email, but we don't send spammy email. We send emails that are helpful. Helpful in ways it's like, hey, I just made a video on this. Here's the link to go send it, to go see it. And then when it comes to an event, then I will kind of like, I'll go on board with selling it, but I always lead with a problem, agitation, solution. So I always help people identify what's the problem I'm having and what, so the number one thing about sales is not fixing the problems, helping people identify that they have a problem that can be solved. And when they know they have a problem that can be solved, then they're like, all right, now I'm ready for the solution.
Yes. Right. That's awesome. So our last question here before we get all of your info from you is, this is more of a personal one, but you have extreme success. I'd say extreme success because there's many entrepreneurs out there that would do nearly anything to get the amount of success that you have right now. But you've also had a couple personal hurdles that you have had to jump over in order to reach that success that a lot of other people probably or may not have, including ADHD and dyslexia. Really quickly, I mean, give us, how did you do it? How did you overcome it? I'd love to hear that side of you.
Yeah, I think so. I found out in college. I don't know if anyone knew. I'm 48, so I went to college in 1993. Right. Thank you. So in college, I was sitting there. I think I was a junior, and my younger brother, is 2 years younger than me, came to the same school, and we were chatting one night. He's like, Aaron, I got to go read for a couple hours. I was like, what do you mean you got to go read for a couple hours? He's like, yeah, I got to go read for a couple hours. I was like, how do you do that? And he's like, well, that's why, I take Ritalin. And I was like, oh. I was like, huh. So I went and I was like, okay. I went and met with my psychiatrist who had evaluated me in high school once, and she said, Aaron, you were smart enough. You didn't need medication in high school. It's like, okay, great, thank you. But now I'm struggling. So once I figured out medication and what was going on, I was like, oh, this is how I can go read and study, and I can get some A's instead of struggling to get B's and C's because I couldn't read 500 pages a night. So once I kind of identified the problem, all right, it took me another 10 years to understand that it was my superpower, maybe even longer than that. I went back to school when I was an adult for physical therapy, and I was 34 or 36. And so I knew that I thought, yeah, 35, right? I knew that creativity helped me solve problems. So here's the way I see it is the ADD, it helps me see options and solutions to problems that other people can't see for themselves. And that I'm a problem solver. So I can help my patients solve their problems, my coaching clients solve their problems, but not my wife. My wife doesn't want me to solve her problems. She just wants me to listen, right? And the dyslexia is also, I think part of it goes along with ADD and ADHD. And, I'll be typing something and the wrong word will get typed out. And sometimes people will email me and be like, Aaron, I can't believe you misspelled a word. I'm like, that's not the point. The point is to get the information out. And so how do I overcome it? I have a calendar. In college, I learned I had dyslexia. I was like, no, I can read. Reading's fine, but it's not reading. It's just it's processing disorder. It's like, how do you process the words on a page, or the words coming out of my brain that I'm thinking don't come out of my mouth or my fingers on the keyboard always the exact same way, or I'll just like flip words or flip letters. But I'm like, oh, because I think faster than I can type. I think faster than I can talk. So I make lists. I live by my calendar. If it's not on my calendar, it's not happening. And that's where my wife and I have trouble. She's like, but we've got this thing. I was like, it's not on the calendar. And then I think a big part of it was just recognizing, hashtag relationship tips, right? But I think a big part of it was recognizing that other successful people, I'm in a mastermind group. Pretty much everyone in there has ADD or ADHD. Not all, but a lot of entrepreneurs who are solving big problems. The bigger the problems you can solve, the more money you can make. And a lot of us have ADD, dyslexia, or some other, kind of like issue that back in the 80s and earlier, they would have sat you in a room with no windows and said, study harder, which is what they did to me in 7th grade. Study harder. I'm like, what do you mean study harder?
Right. Exactly. Well, Hey, this has been great. I have had a blast. You've given us a ton of very useful insight into your business, how it operates, how you've made it work, things you've overcome. Confirmation once again that email lists are important. I've got to ask you, Aaron, how can people digitally stalk you online?
The best place to reach me and find me is Instagram at Aaron LeBauer. But if you really want to digitally stalk me, just go put Aaron LeBauer into Google. You'll find all my websites. So it's aaronlebauer.com is my website too.
Perfect. Hey, Aaron, thank you so much for coming onto the show and sharing all of your insight. Even about your personal struggles and how that worked for you. Very grateful about that, and hopefully we can get you back on some point in the future.
Yeah, David, thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it so much.
No problem. Cheers. There you go. How was that? Wow, that was an incredible chat with Dr. Aaron, right? First, you all know the routine. If you found this interview helpful, if it sparked those warm and fuzzies, do me a favor, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button. But if you really want to help us out, because Shark Bite Biz is the greatest kept secret in the world of small business growth, please share us out to your network wherever you dwell on the interwebs, whether it is Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Rumble, Minds, Odyssey. The list goes on and on and on. Please just share us out, because really these days we only grow because people like you share this out so that we can reach a greater audience. Now let's get back to our rock star guest, Dr. Aaron LeBauer. So much to unpack in this episode. First off, okay, it is incredible. And I think it also takes courage to build a system. Even, physical therapy, That goes against the grain, not accepting insurance. That's hard. You're going up against big medical, big pharma, big tech, even in some ways. And that means they're going to make your life difficult. Oftentimes, in bigger companies, what they do is they get governments to pass regulations. When companies want regulations, that's usually because they're trying to box competition or smaller players out of the market. So they want to make it harder for people like Dr. Aaron to rise up. And, oh, you need this credential, you need this license, you need that, blah, 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 but Dr. Aaron actually fought through all of that, and he found a recipe for success. Not only a recipe, but like he said, it's a blueprint, as it is something that is repeatable. And that's why he is teaching so many other practitioners how to do exactly what he did so that they can find success. That is what I love. That is what this show is all about. Growing your business, teaching others how to grow your business. That's why I do this show each and every week, because I'm trying to bring people like Dr. Aaron onto this show so that he can explain to you some of his secrets to success, so that you can unlock your own secret that will allow you to grow. Remember, we focus. Say that again. Remember, we focus on three main areas of growth, okay? Personal growth, professional growth, and also business growth. Now, one area of personal growth Dr. Aaron was kind of chatting with us about, a little bit brief, I think, but still, we were chatting about some of his personal struggles. He has ADHD, he has dyslexia, and look, every single person out there has a story. Everybody has a struggle. Okay, some struggle harder, some have more struggles than others. I mean, it's just a fact of life. Some people got an easy hand, some people got a hard hand, okay? But learning that you're different with something like dyslexia, I do think that that's a little bit harder to overcome. I mean, there's so many people that get into the victim, mentality that, oh, well, I got dyslexia, I'm never going to do it, or everything's going to be so much more harder for me because I got dyslexia. No, Dr. Aaron learned how to deal with it. And it's really great to hear that, he turned, again, what many people would use as an excuse into an actual reason for success. And I'm so glad that he was so open to talk about it, because I think it helps build confidence in others, that even if you're born with something like ADHD and dyslexia, you can overcome it. I'll say that again. You can overcome it. Dr. Aaron right here is proof, as are many other guests that we've had on this show in the past. Hey, Dr. Aaron, amazing story. Really love chatting with you. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your, so personal story with us. Please, everybody out there watching or listening to the show, check out his podcast, The Cash PT. So, question of the day: what's the biggest thing you've had to overcome to achieve success? Please leave a comment down below wherever you're consuming this episode. And remember, if you want to be on the show, please shoot out an email: interviews@sharkbitebiz.com. If you're on YouTube, please smash that little join button. Join the channel. $3 a month. You can become a baby shark. If not, head right on over to deadhousecoffee.com. Use code SHARK, get 20% off your fresh coffee order. Okay, whole beans, espresso beans, ground, whatever you want. There's organic, there's flavored. It's freshly roasted, sent to your doorstep. Use code SHARK. You'll save 20%. We'll get all the proceeds to grow this channel. You all know this by now, but I'll tell you again. I'm David Strausser. This is Shark Bite Biz. We'll see you all next episode. Cheers.
Thank you for listening to Shark Bite Biz. We hope you got some insightful info from this podcast. Be sure to subscribe to us through your favorite podcast app and visit us on the web at www.sharkbitebiz.com. How has business changed for you in the 20s? Email us at podcast@sharkbitebiz.com so you can join us and share your story.